the Council of Europe's relation with member states needs to be talked about. The conventions are binding. If member states sign up to the conventions, the key one being, of course, the European Convention on Human Rights, then they are expected to comply, and compliance is monitored. On the other hand, the other documents, tools, and resources that they produce are not binding, though they may be supported by a recommendation from the Committee of Ministers or the Parliamentary Assembly. In the case of the Committee of Ministers, what that means is that the directorate that's responsible for, in our case, the Common European Framework and the European Language Portfolio, will draft a recommendation, and that will be gradually processed through the various committees that bring it to the Committee of Ministers for, hopefully, approval. What that means is that you have these recommendations that don't necessarily get taken all that seriously, far less acted upon. If one were to say, has the Common European Framework had an impact on language education in Europe, one would have to say, yes, it has, and it's been very large. But it hasn't been an impact that has happened because of the grateful acceptance of it and all it represents by, for example, ministries of education around the member states. It has had the impact that it has had because it was the answer to the prayers of the international language testing agencies, that are essentially commercial organizations. And on the more curriculum and pedagogy side, it's been taken up mostly in the private sector by language schools that are preparing students to take the exams of the international agencies. So the kind of take-up that I think the framework challenges us to dare is one that is, to date, more or less, not exclusively, but overwhelmingly in the private sector. Because the Council of Europe develops and then offers to member states localization of tools, implementation, research, and further development, are left up to the member states, and that's why my examples of implementation and research have a solely Irish focus. At the same time, various kinds of support are provided for the member states by the Language Policy Division in Strasbourg and the European Centre for Modern Languages in Graz. Am I right to assume everybody has heard of ECML? Not everybody? No. Okay. The European Centre for Modern Languages has existed now probably for about 20 years. It is a so-called partial agreement of the Council of Europe. That's to say that member states can choose to join or not join. If they join, then they are expected, according to an agreed formula, to contribute to the annual budget of the operation. At the moment, the ECML has, I think, 34 of the 47 member states signed up as members of this partial agreement. And what ECML does is to develop and implement so-called medium-term programs of 4 years with various projects making up the programs. In the last couple of programs, the current program and the one before, there have been several projects focused on the European Language Portfolio, also for that matter, on the Common European Framework.